You're watching a war end, but not the way you think. 3 weeks ago, Trump's personal envoy was secretly coaching Russia on how to negotiate Ukraine. A recording leaked. Proof. But that's just the beginning. Behind closed doors in Abu Dhabi and Geneva, a deal was being written. A deal that would force Ukraine to give up not just the territory Russia invaded, but more. Territory Ukraine still controls. And nobody saw it coming. This is the peace plan that isn't about peace. This is about power. What if the strongest democracy in the world just handed one of its allies to an authoritarian regime, not through conquest, but through negotiation? And what if that was the plan all along? By the end of this video, you'll understand what's really happening in Ukraine. Not the headlines, the hidden story, the 28-point plan, the secret talks, the leaked recording that proves Trump's team was coaching Russia. The moment when a Thanksgiving deadline became a surrender ultimatum. And most importantly, why this matters to your job market, your security, and your future in America and Europe. We're talking about a geopolitical earthquake, a reshaping of global power that erases 30 years of Western alliance building in a single document. The man leading this isn't a diplomat. He's a real estate negotiator. And Ukraine is the property being split in a deal. Here's what happened. August 2025. Trump meets Putin in Alaska. Nobody knew what they discussed. Then September, Trump's team quietly starts drafting a peace plan. By mid-November, it leaks. 28 points, everything you need to know about the nightmare ahead for Ukraine. The plan demands territorial concessions, not just the 20% Russia has already seized since February 2022. More. The entire Donetsk region, including the 25% Ukraine still controls and hasn't lost to Russia yet. Ukraine would be forced to give that up, voluntarily. Kherson and Zaporizhia, frozen along current lines. Crimea, recognized as Russian. That's roughly 28,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory that would be gone. But territory is just the start. Ukraine's military, the last real defense against Russian expansion in Eastern Europe, would be cut by more than half. Armed forces limited to peacetime levels. This isn't demilitarization. This is dismantling the strongest military force in Europe outside of NATO. And Ukraine's guarantee against future invasion? Vague, conditional, dependent on a joint American-Russian working group. That means the US and Russia deciding Ukraine's fate together. Then comes the NATO clause, permanent. Ukraine will never join NATO, not later, not after democracy is restored, not ever. This rewrites European security architecture without asking Europe. Fast forward to November 18th. The plan is already being secretly negotiated. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is meeting with Russian officials in Miami, then Abu Dhabi, then Moscow. The talks are secret. The American delegation, Russian delegation, all hidden from the public. Meanwhile, Trump is pressuring Zelensky. Accept by Thanksgiving or lose all U.S. aid. November 27th, that deadline, that pressure, that ultimatum. But here's where it gets darker. A recording surfaces, October. Witkoff on the phone with a senior Russian official discussing negotiation tactics, not as an honest broker, as someone advising Russia how to present their demands, how to frame it, how to position themselves. Think about that. The lead negotiator for peace coaching the other side. That recording, that conversation, it reveals everything. This wasn't negotiation between equals. This was choreography. Zelensky faces an impossible choice. Accept the 28-point plan, abandon 28,000 square kilometers, restrict your military, accept your NATO dreams are dead, or lose your most powerful ally and face Russian conquest without American support. Either complicated 28 points or an extremely winter, the toughest
and further risks, he says. A life without freedom, without dignity, without justice. That's when he addresses the nation. His words are measured, careful, because he knows criticizing Trump too harshly means losing the U.S. So he speaks in paradoxes. Either you sign this, or you will simply be eliminated. He's saying the deal is capitulation, but he has no choice, because Trump has the leverage. The deal accelerates by November 25th. The Ukrainians have agreed, U.S. officials announce. Details still to work out. But Ukraine has already surrendered the fundamental terms. The territory, the military limits, the NATO ban, all gone. And the world barely noticed.
What most people don't realize is this. Trump negotiated this without Europe. The deal that reshapes European security was written by Americans and Russians, not Europeans, not Ukrainians, Americans and Russians. European leaders are furious. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says Russia cannot continue to advance and conduct its hybrid attacks. Ursula von der Leyen from the European Commission warns this deal leaves Ukraine more vulnerable to future Russian aggression, not less. They're saying the same thing. Trump just eliminated the one military force capable of defending Eastern Europe. Ukraine's army was that bulwark. Now it's gone. But here's the moral dimension nobody discusses. The plan includes amnesty, full amnesty for war crimes. Whoever conducted massacres, torture, systematic abuse, all pardoned. Not prosecuted, not held accountable, just forgiven, in exchange for peace. That's the trade-off. Justice sacrificed for negotiation. And here's what connects this to your world. This explains why Trump negotiated in secret, why the Witkoff tape emerged, why he's moving fast, because he knows this is unpopular. He knows Europe will reject it. He knows Ukraine's public opinion is turning against it. So he's rushing, forcing consensus before people understand what's happening. There's another angle. In October, Epstein files were released, damaging information about powerful people. Trump needs a distraction, an achievement. A peace deal, even a terrible one, is an achievement. It plays on news cycles. It distracts from domestic chaos. It makes Trump look presidential. Meanwhile, Ukraine ceases to exist as an independent nation in any meaningful sense. Both sides claim victory. Trump says tremendous progress. Putin says the plan could form basis for settlement. But Ukraine loses everything. The military that defended Kyiv, the territory that represents Ukrainian identity, the NATO membership that guarantees security, and the future. The future is uncertain because a deal written under pressure with one side weakened and one side strengthened is not a peace treaty. It's a pause before the next invasion. Russia gets what it wants now. Ukraine becomes defenseless later. And in 10 years, what stops Putin from taking the rest? Here's where you come in. This isn't just Ukraine's problem. This is a global realignment. First, the economic angle. Ukraine's collapse affects your job market. Why? Because Russian destabilization spreads. When Ukraine falls, Moldova is next. Then the Baltics, then Poland. Suddenly, NATO faces direct invasion threats. Defense spending skyrockets. Your taxes increase. Military budgets expand. Tech companies relocate. Inflation accelerates. The economic ripple is already starting in European markets. Second, China watches everything. Beijing is studying this moment. If America abandons Ukraine for peace, why wouldn't America abandon Taiwan, or Japan, or South Korea? The entire post-World War II security order, the idea that democracies protect democracies, collapses. China sees permission. Permission to move on Taiwan without American intervention. Third, America's credibility dies. You're an ally of the United States? Your security guarantee means nothing if Trump decides a real estate deal is more valuable. NATO members are now asking, do we really trust American promises? Europe will pivot toward autonomous defense. That means European military spending. That means EU internal army. That means a de facto European superpower rising independently of America. The Western alliance doesn't strengthen, it fractures. For the average person watching in America or Europe, this means your retirement security depends on stable geopolitical markets. Instability costs money. It costs jobs. It costs opportunity. And this deal, this rushed, secret, pressure-based deal, creates instability. The numbers matter. Ukraine is losing roughly 28,000 square kilometers. That's the size of Belgium. The military reduction means 300,000 fewer troops capable of defending Eastern Europe. The amnesty means systematic war crimes go unpunished, creating precedent for future conflicts. And the NATO ban means one less democratic buffer between Russia and Europe. Our investigation found something striking. Nobody predicted this momentum in September. By November, it's inevitable. Why? Because pressure works when applied secretly, when stakes are hidden, when alternatives are eliminated. The Witkoff recording proves this wasn't honest negotiation. It was choreographed, designed to appear organic while actually favoring Russia from the start. That's not peace brokering, that's collusion. The conflicting data is impossible to ignore. Trump officials say Ukraine agreed. Ukrainian officials say only a few details remain. But Zelensky's address shows existential crisis, one of the hardest moments in our history. That's not the language of a good deal. That's surrender language. Here's the ethical question. Can you achieve peace through coercion? Trump says yes. Either accept this or lose American support. Zelensky faced a gun to his head, and technically, he agreed. But was that agreement voluntary, or was it survival instinct disguised as diplomacy? This is what worries me most, and I want to know what you think. Because we're witnessing a moment where the strongest democracy on earth uses its power not to strengthen alliances, but to dissolve them, not through invasion, through negotiation. The deal isn't final yet. Details remain, but the direction is clear. By January 2026, this will be formalized. Ukraine will be smaller, weaker, more vulnerable. And Russia will have what it wanted all along. Not conquest through war, but conquest through negotiation. So here's my question for you. Is this peace, or is this surrender disguised as diplomacy? Where do you stand? Comments below.